Michelle mentioned that there are many types of facilities, everything from independent living to nursing home. There's a broad spectrum, but the question is, how do you decide which one? And Sue talked about doing your homework and visiting different facilities. I'm going to talk a little bit about some things to look at and take account of when you walk into a facility. One of the first things that most people notice when they walk into the facility is the smell. Have you done that? And so that's an important factor because that gives you some information about that facility. Look for cleanliness, look for smell, look for staffing and how they greet you as a visitor and also how they interact with the residents because that tells you a great deal. Do they treat them childishly? Do they treat them with respect? How do they address them? Is it hun and honey or is it their name? Okay, that can make a difference, a great deal of difference. You also want to find out, of course, what kind of rooms and all of those things, what the setup is. Are there facilities for cooking if you want that, or a refrigerator for snacks or that kind of thing? How do they handle that? What kind of activities do they have? Do they have activities that your loved one will enjoy and be able to participate in appropriately? What's the food like? That's always a biggie. And so feel free. Most facilities, if you ask for it, will let you come and eat a meal, visit and eat a meal. And so try it out for yourself and see what it's like. Look at the menu, see what's ahead. That always comes in handy. I also encourage people not only to take a tour, to make an appointment and take a tour and be taken around to the facility, but also come back at other times. Visit at off shifts or at different times because you may get some information by walking into a facility when they're unprepared to meet you that you might not automatically get when you go at a specific time. And that's important information. Talk with the staff. See how they interact with and how they answer questions and things. I'm putting my facility on the line here, but my staff is very good about these things, so I feel safe in doing that. One secret that I found from a family that I have to be quite honest made me feel a little funny. I watched as this family left after visiting our facility. They went out to the parking lot and there was a resident's family just getting ready to come in, and they stopped them and asked them, "How is the care here?" Okay. Do you feel like your loved one gets good care? Do you get called? Is the communication good? All of those things. And although it made me feel a little funny because I'd never thought of that, I thought, what a great idea. Because those are the customers, the existing customers, and they're going to know. Does a facility feel like home, or does it feel like a nursing home or a hospital? We want it to make it feel as comfortable as possible. Is it easy to navigate the halls? Are the halls wide enough for walkers to pass, for wheelchairs to get by? Because more and more people in facilities are relying on those. Is it confusing? Is it a confusing layout? I can tell you most of our facilities, even assisted living and some of the independent apartments now, do have people who are mildly confused. And so if they come down to the dining room, will they be able to find their way back to the room? Who's available to help them? Those kinds of things. We need to look at all of those things in preparing a facility. Any questions about any of that? We also, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just scratching.
Oh, okay. All right, sorry.
Can you talk about access to emergency personnel?
Oh, and okay, in a facility, we need to know what their emergency protocol is. What do they do in those situations? If someone falls, how do they let someone know that they've fallen? How do they call for help? Is there an emergency call light in the room, in the bathroom? Who do they use? Do they automatically call an ambulance, or do they notify family? How does their protocol work for that? That's important information too. Thank you. The next thing we want to talk about are emotions. Emotions run high when you're talking about moving someone. whether it's from their home, just downsizing to an independent apartment, or whether it's moving to an assisted living or nursing home. One of the first things that people often feel is denial. I don't need that. I'm okay. Have you run across that? We can see things that they may not be able to see, but denial is a wonderful thing. It can convince you of a lot of things. And so this is where we need to be fact-finding and laying out the facts of it in a kind way, in a compassionate way, and beginning to help them to understand what you're seeing that makes you feel that they're unsafe. The second one that we often see is anger. Why are you doing this to me? You just want to dump me off so it's easier for you. You promised you'd never put me someplace like that. Okay? That anger comes out. Unfortunately, the people that they strike out at is generally family. When they move in here, I think families expect them to be angry at us too. Doesn't usually happen. We take care of them, and if they're not nice to us, we might not. Okay? I think that's, people feel that sense, a little bit of uncertainty, but family, they know, love them and care for them, and so they can express the hurt that they feel, the anger they feel, and often it is hurt. It's not always just anger, it's just that confusion and that hurt of not understanding and not accepting what's going on. So that's a difficult one. Depression. Helping an older adult to move is a challenge at any time, and often we do see a period of depression because they are leaving the things that they are comfortable with, the things that they value. They are losing independence. No matter how independent we try to help them to be, they are still losing some independence in moving to a facility. It may be giving up the car. That's a huge one, especially for men. Giving up those keys, that's huge. Some facilities you can still drive, but you know, there comes a point where families have to have that talk with them, and that's a rough one. So they're losing that kind of independence. They're losing their home, and they feel that they're losing their loved ones in one sense. They're losing so many memories, they think. Luckily, memories go with you, so you don't have to lose all those, but they're losing those surroundings. And so depression is very, very common. Just talking about things, listening to them, letting them express their feelings, supporting them through that period of time, getting staff to help support them during that, finding interests, and helping them find a purpose. Those are all things that can really help them through that time of depression, but it's very common. We always tell the story of the lady in our facility who moved in, family moved her in. She was always a crafty person, and the family decided, we're not going to bring in all that stuff because it would make her room too crowded. And we watched her become more and more and more depressed. And finally, she talked them into just bringing in a collection of buttons that she had. Antique buttons, hundreds, thousands of buttons. And she was going to sort through those for a while. They brought them in, and before long, we began to see pictures, a log cabin all made out of buttons, a bouquet of flowers, a black antique boot, all made with buttons on a matting. Beautifully creative. And as she did it, she began to get affirmation from people around her, from other residents and from staff. We began to see her mood, her purpose for living turn right around. And yes, this one's mine.
They're all sewn on. They're sewn on.
Yes. And so it's just very creative, and it changed her life to be able to find that creative outlet again. She thought she had lost that. And instead, she just found a different way to express it. Very important. Fear. Fear is a huge one. They do not know what situation they're coming into. You may have built a trust relationship with the staff, but they have not yet. And it is scary. It is very scary. They are losing all the things that are familiar to them, and so many older people, because they do no longer see well or hear well or move very well. They have adapted in their own environment. You know how you walk into a home and you see laid out on the countertop the pills and the paper and this list and that list, and it's all out there on the work table, and so to help them out, you clear it all off and put it away? Worst possible thing, they know where it is on the counter. They've adapted so that they can find the things they need. And when we move them to a different environment, they no longer have that way to figure things out and know where they put things. And it's very difficult. If anybody's moved, it's hard enough for all of us. But as an older adult, without being able to see very clearly, it's even more difficult. And the last emotion, of course, is guilt. And Sue addressed that very well. Guilt from the family and feeling like, have I done the right thing? And there will be many, many days when you think, second guess yourself and say, could I have done it differently? Should I have done it differently? But you make the best choices that you can, and then you support and encourage and help them to move beyond where they are right then so that they can adapt to their new environment.